We're back yet again with the thiccmaninc podcast to give you our reaction to the Super Bowl. And it was a great Super Bowl. Both teams came out firing on all cylinders offensively. The defenses struggled to keep up. Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes displayed high-level quarterback play both on the ground and through the air, and it was one of the more competitive games we've seen in recent years. I think Tristan would agree with that. And I honestly think Jalen Hurts may have outplayed Patrick Mahomes. He had that good of a game. He was phenomenal. 4 touchdowns, more passing yards, just a really complete game by him, particularly those quarterback sneaks. But the reason the Chiefs won, more so than Mahomes and Isaiah Pacheco, their offensive line played lights-out football. Orlando Brown, Creed Humphrey, Wiley, they all did their job. 0 sacks against that vaunted Eagles defensive line. Led this regular season in sacks. Looked phenomenal playoffs. Took out Brock Purdy. Hit Daniel Jones hard. And yet they were held sacks. Some of that's due to Mahomes' mobility, but a lot of that is on those big boys up front. That's why the Chiefs won the game. Obviously, Eagles defense, not up to snuff whatsoever. We expected better from them. We didn't expect much better from the Chiefs defense, but that's neither here nor there. And it really is sad there was a controversial call there at the end. I'm pretty sure that wasn't a hold. If you want to call that a hold, there are about 85 other holds, which you could have called throughout the game. But still, the best Super Bowl we've had since the Patriots-Eagles Bowl a few years ago. Great game all around.
Yeah, it was a really fun game to watch, and I think there were a lot of major takeaways from this game outside of the controversial ending, because that seems to be what everyone wants to talk about. It's the only thing anyone's talking about after last night's game. When you take a look at what the Chiefs offense did, we found out that their offense is still the best in the NFL. We found out Patrick Mahomes, when it comes down to it, he is going to make plays even after a slow start in the first half. And I think our analysis of the Eagles and what they've been through was 100% accurate. Me and Isaiah felt the same way. They didn't play anyone during the regular season. The best quarterbacks they played were Jared Goff, Dak Prescott. You have Aaron Rodgers in there, but he left midway through the game. And all of those teams put up 30 plus points. So when you have the Eagles who played cupcake offenses and not so great quarterbacks during the regular season, they were used to rolling over them in the first half and then continuing to roll in the second half. Their defense wasn't used to halftime adjustments. Guess what the Chiefs did? They had a rough first half, didn't score a lot of points. The Eagles defense was doing a solid job, but then they come out in the second half, rolled down the field multiple times, put up points, and all of a sudden the Eagles defense blew a 2-score lead at halftime. So I think that's really important, and it shows that it was true about the Eagles defense. Their numbers were a bit enhanced by the fact they didn't play that much competition during the regular season, and Patrick Mahomes just played so great in the second half on that ankle injury. I think at the end of the second quarter, it got a little bit banged up when he got tackled from behind, but I was really impressed with the Chiefs offense. They did a great job. And then when it comes to the Eagles offense, what I think was 100% solidified to us is that Jalen Hurts is that guy. To have 374 total yards, 4 touchdowns, he was great. He was special. He was maybe even on that Patrick Mahomes level. Certainly put up better numbers than Mahomes. So I was really impressed with what Hurts did. It's a shame that the Eagles defense wasn't able to keep the lead, and more people would be talking about how good Hurts played that game. But I was really impressed with Jalen Hurts. I think it was solidified. I was right, and Isaiah was right about their defense. And then when it comes down to the call, I don't really care. The Chiefs played good enough to win. I don't think it really affected the outcome. And that's my basic. I'll let Isaiah respond to anything I just said there.
I'll quickly touch on that, but I don't want to get super bogged down into it because at the end of the day, we both picked the Chiefs to win, so I'm not happy they won. Screw the Eagles. But there's a big difference between getting the ball back with 10 seconds left and getting the ball back with 45 seconds left. They probably could have quarterback sneaked that ball down the field 12 times and got in field goal range based off how their offense was going. I feel that call denied us overtime, which would have been really cool to watch in the Super Bowl, particularly with the new rules. Neither here nor there. It's all hypothetical. I think the Eagles may have got screwed a little bit, but I'd feel worse for him if it wasn't the Eagles. And I honestly, again, the one thing you can take away from Jalen Hurts, he had that bad fumble which resulted in a touchdown. That's the only knock on his game. He was clearly dealing with some of that elbow issues still, but kept throwing deep to A.J. Brown, got the ball to him on some big plays, and the only time that really showed itself as a big issue was on the final play of the game, that Hail Mary. Just couldn't get enough onto it to make it a competitive ball. But very good game from the offenses, very good game from Jalen Hurts. You can definitely move him well within that top 10, maybe into that top 5 conversation of quarterbacks going into next season. And I'm kind of excited to see what happens with the Eagles. They've got a lot of free agents, but they're now going to be able to build around Jalen Hurts, around his passing ability more. And obviously, it's a great offensive system, but I'm curious to see how it changes and evolves with Hurts, who has gotten better every single year and might take another step forward next year.
Well, just another thing quick on the penalty, and I saw Nick Wright actually bring this up, which I thought was excellent monumental to mention because I don't think a lot of people are thinking of it from this perspective. The Chiefs scored a touchdown on the exact same type of play twice in the second half. They motion over, I think it was Sky Moore once, then he runs back, or Kadarius Toney the first time, I think it was Sky Moore the second time, then they do a whip route, just go right back out, wide open, man coverage, wasn't able to follow because they were worried about getting the jet sweep or short pass over on the right side. They did that twice. It was the same type of route on that holding call at the end that Juju ran. He cut inside, cut back out, went up to eventually do a wheel route, but they were probably they had been beaten on that for 2 previous touchdowns. I think that played an element into James Bradberry holding there. The defense had been burned on that twice earlier in the game, and they didn't want that to happen again. So I think that played a little bit into James Bradberry's mindset, especially when at the end of the game in his press conference, he said he definitely held there. So I think that was an element to it, and I thought it was interesting, which I saw Nick Wright bring it up. Not that anyone who watches us, and it's not like they don't know who Nick Wright is.
Not that Nick Wright's on our level or anything, but I think it's important to mention that James Bradberry and the rest of the Eagles had spent the entirety of the last 2 weeks telling the 49ers to shut up and get over their loss, so it probably wouldn't have been a good look to come out there and cry about a bad penalty. So good on him for wearing that one on their chin. I don't think it was a hold, but finally, before we conclude, how do you think this affects Patrick Mahomes all time? Because I think I'd move him right now if he retired today, maybe into the top 10, and he definitely has a trajectory. He could finish top 3, maybe even top 2 all time. I don't see him catching Brady, that's just me. You can say what you want about, Barrett, the X, Y, and Z. 7 rings is a testament, and I don't see Mahomes getting there anytime soon. Where do you think Mahomes stands now after this second Super Bowl win?
It depends on how much you value the Super Bowl win. It depends on how much you value team success. It depends how much you value statistical, how many stats they get as a player over the course of their career. Because if his career ended right now, it's not like his career stats would be that insane. So I think that's an element to it people don't really take into account. But when he's done 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 league MVPs in just, 7 seasons he's been a part of so far. So when you have that on your resume, we can only assume at the bare minimum, now I say bare minimum, he's going to play at least another 5 to 7 seasons. You have stats there. Maybe he never wins another Super Bowl, but just based off that, accruing more stats, more accolades, and you said specific ranking. Assuming based off,
slide him in the top 10, that neck of the woods right now.
Right now, he'd have to be top 10, I'd imagine. This season, in my opinion, he's created a massive gap between him, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen, because he did it with less talent than Joe Burrow, and I think he did it with just as much talent as Josh Allen, who kind of wilted later in the season. So he's created a gap between him and the rest of the NFL. I think with this win, it kind of puts him in that Brady category was in during his own prime and during his own career, where once he kept winning, once he kept putting up those numbers, he created a gap between himself and the league. So I think that it was also, to that effect, a statement win from Mahomes.
Well, I don't think Brady ever had a massive gap. His longevity, he was always might have been the best. There's always guys like Breeze, Rodgers, and Manning nipping at his heels, kind of stopping him from just separating himself totally from the pack. I think Mahomes might be more separated than Brady ever was in his career. Doesn't mean he's better, but he's just better than everyone out there around him. Obviously, Andy Reid's a top 10 coach of all time now. 4 Super Bowl appearances, 2 wins, impressive fashion, offensive mind of our generation. You can't put him anywhere lower than 10 as an all-time coach.
I think
he's down there with Madden and Bud Grant and those type of guys. He's in that neck of the woods now.
Well, yeah, quick with Andy Reid. I actually think this Super Bowl win for Andy Reid meant more for his legacy and the discussion of all-time great coaches than it did for Patrick Mahomes, because adding that second ring to your resume as a head coach, I feel like maybe does a lot more than it does for a quarterback, because you're over the whole team. If a quarterback plays his entire career like Dan Marino, never wins a Super Bowl, puts up great numbers, puts up great film, was one of the best throwers of the football ever, you're still going to be regarded as one of the top 5 ever, top 10 ever. If you're a coach and all you ever do is win during the regular season and never get it, Andy Reid now is 2, he did have 1, and never get it done in the Super Bowl, you're not going to be viewed as highly. So him adding that second ring to his resume, and what is this, his 4th Super Bowl? I believe he went to 1 with the Eagles, I think.
It's been 3 with the Chiefs. I think it's 1 with the Eagles where he got blasted by the Patriots early. I could be wrong, though.
Yeah, so he's now 500 in Super Bowls. Maybe he gets to another one over the next 3 seasons. So I think it did a lot for Andy Reid's resume when we have the conversation of top 5 coaches all time or top 10 coaches all time. And I think it did more for him than maybe Mahomes there.
Did a lot for both of them. I don't think Mahomes is done winning awards or championships even, so we have a lot left to see with that. But I enjoyed the Super Bowl overall. I think, Tristan, you'd say the same. One of the better ones we've seen recently.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was a little nervous there when Mahomes got banged up at the end of the second quarter. I thought we were going to get severely bullied for the next week.
Yeah, there may have been a video pre-recorded in the event that the Eagles did win the Super Bowl, but we don't need to get into that. That one's staying in the vault for all time. Maybe we'll put it up on Patreon one day if we ever make one of those. Anyway, that's been our reaction to the Super Bowl. Let us know what you thought of the big game down in the comments below. Hit that like button, subscribe, all that stuff. If you're still here, you probably already did that stuff, but thank you for supporting us. It was a good season.
Stop throwing the mic around when you're recording.
See, I'm not hitting it into anything, though.
Yeah, but it's if the chords, whatever. See you guys next time. Because Isaiah was recording that, was swinging his mic around, like the video, subscribe, use code THICK on Underdog Fantasy, even though the NFL season's over. If you want to support our content, just deposit $1, get another $1 back, help support us, and we will see you in the next one.